All right, we're in Game 3 of VTClonze versus tQArchaic here at Alberta Beatdown 2 at OverKlocked Gaming and Computers in Edmonton, Alberta, which is in Canada, being hosted by edmontongamers.com. Game 3 is going to be here on Shakura's Plateau. We've got Klonze, the Orange Terran, and he's going to be down here at the bottom right position. And his opponent, Archaic, who managed to take the last game with a lot of aggression, a lot of harassment, just really strong play overall. And he's going to be over here on the bottom left.
The most important part of the last game, for those of you who watched it, is that although Klonze did a really aggressive 2-racks, he didn't expand behind it. And though Archaic tried to do a overall tech build, he still expanded behind it, and that allowed him for his tech to kick in and not have the one little tiny poke at it like Klonze's Banshees did. He had enough economy that he could consistently macro up a new army, and he wasn't going to falter because, oh, I lost my Banshee, oh, I lost my Siege Tank. He was going to be able to come back even when Klonze is pushing with 3 or 4 Siege Tanks up his ramp.
Yeah, and you were saying before the game that Klonze is somebody who can get on tilt. And we're discussing the possibility of him going for an economic cheese here. And I think Archaic, the same thought process went through his mind. He's actually going to be walling himself in Terran versus Terran here.
Yeah, I think that's a big rivalry between these two. They've met a lot at local tournaments. And I think overall, Klonze is a better player in a one-game situation. But if you put him in a box set, especially against Archaic, Klonze does tend to tilt. And we were talking about it before again, that Klonze picked Shakura's Plateau instead of a map such as Metalopolis or even Shattered Temple, where we've seen him do a lot of economic cheese, such as doing a 1-rack expand and putting his command center at the gold and just mining those with mules and trying to get a little bit of an advantage there. But I'm really interested to see what he's going to be doing here on Shakura's.
And Archaic is going to be able to complete that wall, which means the SUV is not going to be able to get out of this base. Marine is going to be able to clean that up and score himself a nice little tally on the side of his gun there. And there it goes. Bob the Builder had a pretty sad day today, and Klonze with a nice SUV snipe.
That's
there.
really important because he didn't see whether Archaic or whether Klonze had gas or not, even though we are seeing that Klonze is going to be going for seemingly 1-rack expand, while Archaic is looking like he's going to be going for that 1-1-1 build. Yeah, there we go, command center.
Yeah, and this is, again, it is a pretty risky build right now because if Archaic was going for a very aggressive early timing attack opening, and Klonze would be in a lot of trouble right now, but it does look like Archaic is going to be gearing up for any kind of pressure a little bit later on in this game. So Klonze might be able to get away with this if he manages to get enough forces out on the field and maybe a few bunkers or something like that to make sure that none of those Hellions can actually sneak by.
Yeah, we see the bunker going up, so he's preparing for some kind of tech. But see, again, this is the kind of thing that Klonze hasn't been doing. Archaic's still teching, but he's also throwing down the command center. When last game we saw that Klonze did the tech, but he didn't have the economy to fall back on like Archaic did, and that's what gave Archaic the win. So we're going to have to see what Klonze is going to be able to do. He's going to probably have to drop another gas. Oh, there he already does. And we're going to have to see what he's going to tech to try to hold these off, and I'm guessing fast siege tanks as we see the factory dropping down right away.
Yeah, and with these Hellions coming out on the field, one bunker might not be able to not be enough to actually stop a run by. If 4 or 6 Hellions actually come out, they could just sprint right by, and he wouldn't lose more than a single Hellion as he runs right into the main base and starts dealing a ton of damage. And we also see him throwing down the starport, so he could also just drop them in the back of the base and completely circumvent any defenses at the ramp there. He is going to be positioning these Hellions. This is Naga Tower, see if there's anything making its way across the map. And then he's going to send these Hellions in there. He's going to see the bunker. Almost loses a Hellion there. That Hellion has a grand total of 6 hit points. One more shot would have taken it out. And now he knows what's going on at the natural expansion. The question is he going to go for a drop in the main base or anything like that? I don't think so. He's going to be landing the starport on this tech lab, and we do see the Banshee on the way.
Important thing to see, though, is that he isn't going for cloak, but he is getting the reactor in the barracks, and he stopped Hellion production aside from one more, which gives him a lot of map control, even though Klonze is ahead economically, but same SCV count, so their economies are practically the same.
Yeah, and Klonze is now going to be able to get quite a few SCVs and mules out on the field right now. He's going to be able to tech up quite quickly, and that's exactly what we see as we see a second factory and the starport going down at the same time. He's got the siege tank on the way with no siege mode quite yet. Might want to get a few more SC or a few more Marines out on the field, or maybe a Viking or something like that, as there is a Banshee on the way. And so pretty much the exact same thing that Archaic did in the last game. He tries to do a little bit of damage with some Hellions, and then the Banshee follows up.
Yeah, and now we're seeing the tech lab switch over to the factory, and the starport is probably going to be dropping a reactor, and probably going to get some reactor Vikings going, as we see two more factories going down. We're going to see Archaic's trademark mech play.
Yeah, interestingly enough, both of the players are actually going to be going for that Infernal Pre-Igniter upgrade rather than Siege Mode first.
No, I think that's... Go ahead.
A good read here by clones to get that Viking out, because he is well aware that Archaic, like I said, is going to be doing the same thing he did last time. And he's going to be able to clean this Banshee up far faster than he did in the first game. He's going to lose a lot less SCVs, and he's going to be on a much better economic footing than he was in that last match.
I would have liked to have seen him open up with the tech lab on the starport and get a Raven and a Banshee, or Raven and a Viking, excuse me. It's just a really safe build. You still get your starport, you still get your tech. It's just that you won't die to cloak Banshees, as we see that clones didn't have an engineering bay. So he's like, okay, do I burn a scan or not? I don't know if he's going cloak. Luckily he wasn't, and he only lost 6 SCVs. And that's why we see Archaic does have a 6 SCV lead.
Yeah, and at this point in a mirror matchup, 6 SCVs can mean all of the world. We can see good positioning here on that Viking. He's going to catch most Banshee action coming into his main base. And he's going to be loading up a few Hellions here with, they do have the Blue Flame upgrade just about to complete. So he has the opportunity to do a pretty significant amount of damage. And Archaic has no forces positioned in his main base whatsoever, no missile turrets or anything. So these Hellions are going to have a pretty easy time just rolling in here and starting to torch some of these SCVs. Yeah,
Clones are going to definitely have to do a lot of damage with this drop. Although Archaic did get a slower expansion, his tech allowed him to have complete map control, so Clones basically only map presence exactly what he's doing right now. Very little map presence at all, and it's really, he's basically asking Archaic to, okay, let's take control of this game, let's see what's going to happen, and make the first move. And that's a pretty dangerous thing to do in a mirror matchup. In my opinion, I think it's really important to have the control of the game and keep your opponent in the back foot and want to sit in the base and react to what you're doing, versus then trying to make the moves yourself, and I think you're at a disadvantage when you're reacting in a mirror matchup.
Yeah, and I do believe that he only loaded up 3 Hellions into that medevac, and interestingly enough, he did manage to get all 3 of those Hellions out of there. We can see that he managed to pick off a decent number of SCVs there, and that's only going to serve to even out the difference a little bit more. As we can see the supply counts right now, 70 to 84 in favor of Archaic once again.
And now we're seeing a drop coming in from Archaic to return the favor with 3 Hellions and a medevac. But he does have his army positioned ready to intercept, so we're going to have to see this is probably going to get deflected rather easily. Both players are keeping up on their macro, and we are seeing clones copy Archaic and go with this a lot heavier mech style with 2 factories with a tech lab and 1 with a reactor for their Hellions.
He's going to be able, he already has all of the tech that he needs with Siege Mode just about to complete. And just waiting for this drop to get over there. This is making its way across the map. But again, with all these forces in position, the Vikings with their 9 ranges got pretty much everything covered here. The medevac's actually going to spot each other. Clones is going to, or Archaic is going to be able to respond to this, as he did see that coming, whereas Clones has actually got his entire army out of position. Archaic is absolutely wreaking havoc on this main base. The siege mode is complete, and these Hellions are going to take quite a lot of damage. But Archaic didn't actually react to the drop that he spotted on the way. He's going to lose quite a few SCVs himself. Both of the drops getting cleared up right about the same time. Let's check the damage right now.
We're seeing 24 SCVs for Clones and 36 for Archaic. Now this is really odd to me. Clones has sustained a lot of economic harassment, and he's done a little bit to Archaic, but now Clones is pushing out with a larger army. And I think the reason why he's able to do this in this particular matchup is because he has the air dominance that Archaic has like seemingly put no interest into. So this is going to be really dangerous for Archaic, even though he is a defender's advantage. You have the Viking Clones allowing him to get that air dominance. So he's got to be careful if these Hellions don't Dargan.
Yeah, and now Clones is going to be starting to cross the map. Or not. It looked like for a second he was going to start to set up that slow mech push, but instead he's just going to set up in a position that he's a little bit more comfortable with.
We do have the 3rd going out for Archaic, and Clones is again just kind of shifting back and forth, trying to get a little bit of map dominance. But again, he's behind in everything that's been going on this series ever since he lost the lost the 2nd game because of that really deadly Banshee he has. Archaic is the one who has the great defensive posture. He has the turrets in his main. He has complete map control. He has a watchtower, and Clones is just kind of sitting back waiting for Archaic to make the first move. And I think that's just the wrong way to approach this matchup, especially when it's in a deciding game. You need to be able to have the balls to take the game by the horns and dictate the way it's going to go.
Yeah, again, this is the loser's bracket, and this is game 3. The loser of this game is going to pack it up and go home. And Archaic is gearing up to do what could be the final attack here if he plays it right.
I don't think it's really going to happen. He doesn't have any Vikings. He's going to have to burn a lot of scans, and he doesn't really have a whole lot. And without the Vikings to support, he's not really going to be able to do a whole lot of damage here.
And it looks like Clone's is actually going to be setting up to either leave these siege tanks in siege mode down here on the low ground or ferry them up to the top. And, well, for a second, it was looking like Archaic was going to set up to shut down any attempts at a third expansion from Clone. But he is going to have to fall back home to deal with this attack. Because, again, he doesn't have any of those air units to actually have the mobility that he needs to quickly shut this down. So he's going to suffer a lot of damage because of that.
Yeah, this is a really, really great move by Clones. Archaic has a really immobile army, and especially since he has no Vikings, it's really hard for him to engage. He's going to take a lot of army damage, and he's going to suffer economic damage like he is right now. Archaic isn't mining in his main base, although he is lucky that he has that third expansion and getting ready to take a fourth. The important thing is that Clones has no idea about the third expansion, and Archaic does have a 16 SCV lead, and in a mirror matchup, that's everything.
Yeah, and I think Clone's trying to psych him out a little bit. As soon as that drop finishes getting cleaned up, he's got then 2 more medevacs filled with units on the way. And these siege tanks are just going to sit here on siege, and all of those supply depots are actually going to burn down. And he definitely has enough firepower to clean up those siege tanks. And once again, Archaic is forced to turn everything around. Archaic is now in the red, and he's only building, or he's building 4 more supply depots here, but he just hasn't been able to make a push across the map. He hasn't really been able to secure an advantage. He's just been stuck exactly in the same position. He's been stuck in stasis for the last few minutes thanks to these drops out of Clones. Unfortunately, Clones really just hasn't done much to catch up in this game. Try to take a third expansion, try to lock down some more space on the map. Now he's finally going to be doing this, but the question is it going to be too late, as both these players are going to meet in the middle of the map.
Here we go. Clones has the first siege, and this is going to be really important. Like, this is a really, really bad point for Clones. He hasn't been scouting. He has no idea that these expansions are up, and he's just sitting back playing this passive style, and it's not going to work in this matchup. He needs to be able to scout more and know that, hey, I need to push now. He's already at a 60 food deficit, and the longer he waits, the farther and farther Cakes can get away. And unless he somehow walks his army into those siege tanks, he's not going to win it. This game is Archaic's to lose, especially with this third expansion getting denied by this SCV, or by this Marine, sorry.
Yeah, we take a quick look at the unit counting station here. We can see that there are 3 Vikings out on the field for Clones, which means he's going to have to spend a little less scans. And the siege tank count is also in favor of him, but there are an absolutely insane amount of Hellions for Archaic. He could just start ripping Hellions all over the map. And again, just waiting for this engagement in the middle of the map to start. You can see that Archaic is controlling this top watchtower.
And he's going to see this dropship. It's just too bad. Archaic has these Hellions, although they don't do a whole lot to the siege tanks, there's just too many of them. With their numbers, they're going to do too much damage, and we're going to see a GG monster in a second.
Just not quite enough in the way of actually climbing his way back into this game here, and his entire army is going to get cleaned up there. He is going to go for a counter drop here at the top expansion.
This could do a lot of damage. There's Bluefin Hellions, there's no army around. So maybe he can claw his way back in, but realistically he's too far behind.
He's getting a pretty hefty amount of kills, but it's going to cost him his third expansion, which he pretty much just got up and running. He really needs to actually hold on to this game. Even if he manages to shut down the third expansion of Archaic, it's not going to be quite enough. And Archaic, realizing he's taken a pretty hefty amount of damage, is going to turn around and clean this drop up. Just going to give Clones the ability to buy himself a little bit more time, but he still has just such a huge hill for him to climb up.
Yeah, he's got a 70 food deficit. The only way he has any chance is if Tom has to go to the bathroom. This game's over.
Yeah, that drop didn't quite do enough. It just bought him some time. And he is going to play this out because he is here to win. And again, if he loses, then he's going to be going home. He's going to be landing in this semi-island expansion, but Archaic is making his way across the map with a much, much bigger army right now. And he's just going to quickly check for a third base here. Not going to see anything. He's got an SCV or a Marine hanging out here at the main base, and he knows that his opponent is down on what he expects should be 2 bases, but he is going to check this out anyway just to make...
No, he does not, sir. Now, this is the really odd point in one of the mirror matchups in Terran vs. Terran that's unlike the other ones. If Archaic gets impatient, he could easily throw his army away to the sea tanks, and that's really all Clones has. He's going to lose all these SCVs, been spotted by Viking, and his army's going to come and clean up. So there's really not much left he can do. He's going for another drop up in the top. But again, Archaic has a Marine there. He's got a watchtower. It's just really not looking good for Clones. But here we go. They're both moving out. And it's going to be, maybe if Clones gets a lucky siege, he might have a chance to clean up some army. But he's 100 supply down and seemingly too far to climb.
Yeah, he couldn't quite get in the right position to siege up there, as we can see. Huge space there, and Archaic has the ability to just fall back. And this is the thing that I really don't like about Clone's play right now, is he could be sieging up out in this open area, getting a really strong siege line so that he can secure a third expansion, but instead he's choosing to siege up in this little foxhole here and just trying to hold on for as long as he can. And he is going to lose, he might lose this expansion if Archaic can actually get enough of these Marines out.
We have another medevac drop going out, but the only thing that's good about this is Archaic's max, and he's not going to have any more production coming out. But that's really it. It's really up to Archaic to just be patient, sit outside, and let Clones GG. He's going to get frustrated. He's going to be like, how am I going to bust out? And Clones is going to be the one who it's up to him. He has to bust out now. But the only thing Clones can really look at, and it's a really sad way to look at it, he almost has the hope Archaic finds out all the spaces and take his half of the map. But siege tanks allow that in Terran vs. Terran. That's the one thing about it. As you see, Archaic has to walk his entire army back here to deal with this siege tank, but cleaned up, and he's setting up the contain in the middle of the map.
You know, at this point with 2,500 minerals in the bank, this is the point where Terran players start to just sackle their SCVs, switch over mules, free up that supply, and at this point, that's something I'd really like to see out of Archaic, as if he gets a little bit more mobility, there's really no way he can lose. If he gets some Banshees and some Ravens, few Vikings, then he's going to be in an excellent position. But Clone's finally going to try to break out. Just can't get these tanks in the right position.
This is really bad.
Really going to try to hold on to this third base, but Archaic has the ability to not only just steamroll into this, using a ton of units though.
He just came up 100 supply.
Oh my god. Archaic might break through. He's going to be able to take down the last siege tank.
Wow.
Very, very close engagement there, and the supply count's now 115 to 58, and that is going to be a victory for Archaic.